everyone. Today we're going to just make a simple Castile soap, and it just consists of olive oil, lye, water, and then I'm going to add some eucalyptus for fragrance. So I already weighed out the ingredients, and the first thing I'm going to do is add my lye to the water, and you always want to add the lye first or into your water because you don't want the water splashing and causing a mess. And always do this in a well ventilated area, and you should wear gloves because this will start to steam and get really hot, and going to want to stir it because you want to give the lye and the water time to react and actually cool back down, because it actually gets up close to like 200 degrees when you first mix the two together. I'm just going to sit the lye off to the side for a little bit. It's very strong. Apparently it's not ventilated enough in here. I even have the window open and the garage door up, but apparently it's still strong. But with this recipe, you use 25 ounces of oil, which this is extra virgin olive oil, and it's 7.5 ounces of water, and it's 3.15 ounces of lye. And I've already weighed that out. You want to use a scale. You can't just guess or just try and use measuring cups. It's not nearly accurate enough. You always want to use safety glasses. You always want to wear some type of gloves because the lye will definitely burn your skin. So basically, you want to either have a stainless steel bowl or some type of glass bowl. I wouldn't recommend using plastic, especially working with the lye. It might react poorly with it. I use a stick blender for when I start to actually make it. I've tried mixing it by hand. It just doesn't work. I couldn't get it to get to trace, which I'll show you later. I couldn't get to thicken up enough, and I had 2 batches not turn out because of that. So if you're going to actually get into doing soap making, just invest in a cheap stick blender. It doesn't have to be anything special. And then I just have a spatula for scraping out the bowl. And this is one of my silicone molds. So when the soap's done, I can just easily pop the soap out. And basically once you let the lye and the water react with each other, you let it cool down until roughly 100 and 110 degrees, and then you can actually dump it in with your oil, and you can mix it up by hand for a while, and then take your stick blender and start to really mix it together, and just pulse it, mix it a little and then let it go, and just keep doing that. And then when you start moving your blender or a spoon through here, you should start to get trace, which it'll leave a slight trail or line behind your spoon when it gets thick enough. It almost gets, you want it to be almost thick like pudding would be. And then basically it's reacted and mixed well enough that you can pour it into your molds. And then once it's in your molds, you'll cover them and let it go for 24 hours, and then you can pop it out of your molds because the soap will still be slightly pliable and soft. And you'll want it out of the molds, and then you'll stick it on a drying rack and let it cure. This one should cure for about 4 weeks. Depending on the soap, you'll want to do more than that. Some are 6, 8 weeks. So I'm going to go check the lye and see how it's doing. See if it's ready to use. And you can see the lye is pretty well done fizzing and making its nasty fumes that make you choke, obviously. You can feel it by touch. I mean, this is definitely your first step, is mixing the lye into the water. Always your lye beads into the water, never the opposite way. And this is still pretty warm, so we're going to give it just a little bit to cool down yet. You always would want to use distilled water to keep out any impurities and, you know, make sure your soap actually turns out properly. And then this is the lye I got. I ordered it off Amazon. It's, you know, it even says for soap and detergent making, so it's, you know, to a fairly high standard. And then if you want to, you know, get the good stuff, get the organic extra virgin olive oil. And what I'm going to scent mine with is eucalyptus oil. This, you know, it's optional. You don't even have to put fragrance in it, and you can put as much or as little as you would like in your recipe. I also have lavender oil that I've used, which is very nice as well. But this recipe is a very simple recipe. It's not a huge batch. It doesn't make that much. So if you're first starting out and, you know, you go to do this and it doesn't turn out, you're not wasting tons of product and, you know, just having to throw it all out and being a complete disaster. I'm actually going to just slowly add this to the oil. And at first you always just want to mix it by hand and start to get it to combine together a little bit. You can use, you know, a metal spoon, you can use a spatula. And you always just want to pour this stuff slowly because it's lye is very caustic. It's actually used in a lot of your drain cleaners. It will burn your skin. Even when I've added it to the oil now, this will still burn you. A lot of people get scared of making this soap that because of the lye that it's dangerous and so bad for you. There's the saying is that there's no soap without lye, but there's no lye in soap, which basically means it's a chemical reaction. The lye mixes with the fats in your oil, like in this case we use olive oil, and it's going to react, and once it sets up and in a month when it's fully cured, the lye will have changed chemical composition by mixing with the oil, and the lye will no longer exist, and it will no longer burn your skin, and it will effectively turn into soap then. So I'm just mixing this up, trying to get it combined a little bit. I think it's starting to change colors just a hair, but it's time to definitely get the stick blender out. Doing this by hand, I've had no success. It doesn't want to turn out for me. Some people say it's, you know, that it's possible to do, but I don't have that much time or patience, I guess. And you can see while I'm also it's starting to kind of get white and starting to come together a little more. So I'm just going to keep working it a little. And right now it's obviously way too runny. It needs to have some more time to set up. And it's starting to thicken up a bit. It's not nearly as runny, but it's not close to trace yet. It's not leaving any type of trail. It's not nearly thick enough yet. And it's one of those things, you don't really want to rush it. Just take your time doing it. Starting to get a little thicker. So at this point I'm going to actually just take and add some of my fragrance, the eucalyptus oil, because then I'm going to have to definitely, make sure that the oil is mixed in very good as well. Alright, I'm going to see how that does. And that's just eucalyptus essential oil. Okay, it's just starting to kind of trace and leave a little line behind. So I'm going to just do it a little bit more because I'm not quite happy with the way it is yet. Okay, it's getting to trace pretty good. It's leaving a pretty good line behind the mixer. And when you're have your soap poured into your molds, and you know you're washing this bowl out and all of your measuring cups and your spoons and spatulas. Make sure that you use gloves still, because I didn't use gloves when I was cleaning these out before, and about like a half hour later my hands started to really sting, and starting to have a, the lye was starting to burn me. So I just took and washed it off and scrubbed up really good, and then it took care of it. But you really don't want to mess around with lye and get chemical burns on your skin. And this mold is another mold that I just got off Amazon. I also have a block mold that I can just take and cut then into pieces. But I figured I'd try the oval mold for this. And I'm going to try to use the pour spout on this old Pyrex mixing bowl. And you can see it's definitely starting to thicken up, so you want to, get it to your molds. Just try and be neat about it, although I'm sure I'll make a complete mess at some point. Like that. Here comes the mess. So I have a little bit left, so I'm going to actually grab my other mold and then I'm going to clean this up. So this is a silicone mold that I can pop out of this wood frame that just keeps it in a nice rectangular shape. And then once I pop it out of this, I'll make another video of that, and I'll show you. I can just cut this into small bars and they'll be ready to use as well. That's pretty good for that. This, we'll just try and scoop that into the molds. Don't want to waste any. And this is a good time of year to do it because it's fairly warm out right now. But you want to cover this, you can cover the tops with cardboard, and then preferably you want to put like a towel or tea towels around it to help hold in the heat, because the lye and the oils are still working and you want the heat to stay in there. It helps it, the chemical process just work a little bit better. Because like this mold, I already have a piece of cardboard cut that I just stick over top. And then I'll make a video tomorrow of this 24 hours later when I'm removing these from the mold and show you how they turn out.